You want to take action that seems to line things up in a faster way. And of course, action is often inspired. But we want to help you to understand that if you will focus upon your basis of attraction by paying attention to the way you are feeling, that you will understand this concept of deliberate creation. And you will then be that deliberate creative genius who you intended to be as you came forth into this physical body and this magnificently balanced time-space reality. You said, I'll go forth and I'll sift and sort and I'll come to my own conclusions. And when I come to a decision about what I think would be better, I will give that my undivided attention. I will no longer justify why I want that by pointing out how bad that is. And as I practice the thought of what I want, it will become such a vibrational habit for me. That's all a belief is. A belief is just a vibrational habit. It's a thought you keep thinking. It will become such a vibrational habit for me that as I emanate that vibrational signal, law of attraction will bring things to me that match that. And of course, that makes sense, doesn't it? You sort of get it. You've been mixing it up. You get that what you think about comes to you. It shows up fast enough that it's not a big mystery anymore. You don't call yourself lucky or cursed anymore. You say, When something wonderful would happen to Esther, she would say, I did that. And when something not so wonderful would happen, she would say, I did that too. Don't tell anyone. But once you get the hang of this, once you begin to make the association between what you're thinking and how you're feeling and what's coming back to you, then you begin to get your sea legs. Then you begin to be a deliberate creator, a conscious, deliberate creator. So now we want you to understand that, it is so nice when you begin to recognize that you get what you think about, whether you want it or not. Because you activate a vibration, that vibration is powerful, it attracts other things like it, and you begin to notice these patterns. It's easier to notice them in others, isn't it? Especially those you live with. So easy to see the things that they're doing that are messing up your life, you see. But after a while, you begin to recognize that if you're not giving attention to what you think they're doing that's messing up your life, then it's not in your vibration. It's only by your attention to it. You really don't need to worry about what anybody else is doing unless you're giving attention to what they're doing and using what they're doing and your attention to what they're doing as your excuse to hold yourself out of vibrational frequency with who you really are and what you really want. Isn't that nice to know? Say yes. But we want you to understand something even further, that while, yes, it is a wonderful thing to understand that law of attraction is responding to the vibrational frequency that you are outputting, that there is a vibrational frequency that you have been outputting for a very long time that comes from the source, from the core, from the inner being of that which you are. And when you get out of sync with that, you don't feel good. And when you get in sync with that, you feel wonderful. How can I be an observer of something unwanted and stay in alignment with who I really am and therefore of benefit to someone else? That's the biggest question of all, isn't it? How do I explore variety when something's up close to me and unwanted? How do I focus upon someone that I care about who's experiencing something that they don't want to experience and I don't want them to experience without my vibrational alignment with who I am taking a beating? And then you ask another question, and how can I give them the undivided attention that they seem to want and maybe even deserve? And we say, you can't have it both ways. You cannot give your attention to something unwanted and stay in vibrational alignment with what is wanted. And so whenever you're in a jam like that, your obvious, to us at least, remedy is to go as general as you can. Because the specifics that are up close to you are clearly depicting unwanted things. So you have to step back from it far enough that you can get a more general look at it. Maybe by projecting off into the future, by thinking in terms of the future getting better, things will get better. Because there's a difference between saying, as you look off into the future generally, things will get better, and looking at things specifically, things are not getting better, things are getting worse. So you have to decide what feels better to you, the stance that feels better to you. This really speaks to something that is so at the heart of why most people don't stay in their vortex more, why most people don't allow themselves vibrational alignment with all of their power. you feel a responsibility or a commitment to be there as an observer, to be there as a partner, to be there as a back rubber, to be there for someone who is not in the place that they want to be. And we want to say to you that you can't have it both ways. You cannot focus on unwanted and be a catalyst to anything that is wanted. And then you say, well, that doesn't square with all of the other things that are important to me, because I want to be a good partner and I want to be a good supporter. And we say, then you have to define for yourself, what is the support? What is the partnership? What do you really have to offer anyone? And we want to say to you that what you have to offer anyone is your attention from inside your vortex or from outside your vortex. That's really what you have to offer anyone. When you're offering behavior like the back rubs or even the words or the sympathy, you can offer it from inside your vortex or from outside your vortex. You can offer it from your core grid or from something that is not your core grid. And so what you've got to do is find a way to find a stance that will allow the path of least resistance to reveal itself to you in the most powerful and productive of ways. It's a hard thing, we acknowledge, to be in a situation where you're observing something unwanted and withdraw your attention from it. In fact, it doesn't feel very good to the other one. If you were to run away, or even if you were to try to change the subject, it does not feel good to the other one. So don't change the subject. Stay on the subject. Just stay on it in a more general way. It is our promise to you that as you get more general about it, in other words, things like, this too shall pass, or I know that you're going to work your way out of this, or I'm loving all of the time that we've been spending together, or there have been plenty of people who have been where you're standing that have moved through it, and I believe that you will too. In other words, find your general statements that feel good to you, and don't allow yourself to be drawn in to the drama and the trauma. Yeah. And there probably will never be another situation that is as poignant for you, but it's really what we're talking about all day, every day, no matter what the subject is. You have the ability to focus, and you can tell by the way you feel how you're doing in that focus. It's a bit like, Jerry told the story so many times to Esther and to others because it was so meaningful to him. He was a lifeguard in his very early years. He lived in New Orleans during high school, and he was a lifeguard at Pontchartrain Beach. And he was instructed that there may be a time that you'll be out there in the water with someone who is thrashing about, and they will be impossible to subdue and to bring in. Their fear of the water may be such, their thrashing about may be such that you may have to let them drown, he was instructed. And he protested, then what's the point of being a lifeguard? And his instructor said, because if it's going on like that, you will drown too. And there will not be another opportunity for you to be of advantage to anyone. Now that sounds like harsh words, but it really is a bit what deliberate creation is about in this sense. Unless you are selfish enough to demand of yourself your personal alignment, then you have nothing to give another one. And you cannot find personal alignment ever, not one time ever, when you're looking right at something unwanted. So if you stand back and you realize, parents have said this for years, and it's what sort of soured you on this, is they get out the paddle and tell you it's for your own good. But it's sort of like that. For your own good, I am looking at you in a more general stance where I can find the true alignment with who you are. And more important, I can find the true alignment of who I am, because I care about you a great deal. And alignment must come first before I have anything to give you. And then just don't let yourself get sucked into the details of that take you from it. It sounds harsh when you're out of the vortex. It sounds like the only thing that works when you're in the vortex. It sounds like not love to someone who's outside the vortex, and it's the only thing that is love. You have to understand the source energy is looking at everyone who's having this experience. Source energy is there. Source energy is always reaching out to everyone who's asking for anything. Source is standing in the vortex, holding the vibrational patterning, holding the path of least resistance that is evident to them if they will get tuned to the vibrational frequency of that. And so you just have to ask yourself, as a healer, how do I stand? Where do I stand on the spectrum of healingdom? We like to make up words in relationship to where source energy stands. Where do I stand in that arena? And we say, you stand as a representative of the source energy that is offering energy of well-being. You stand as that representative, and source is flowing it to them. But source cannot make them receive it, and neither can you. All you can do is hold yourself in the best place of alignment that you can and allow the path of least resistance to follow through. And what a wonderful thing it is to watch that grid begin to fill in. Here is the best part of this whole thing, the best of all. When you acknowledge that that inner being part of you exists, and that it is the knower and the holder and the vibrational practicer and beer and emitter of the signal of all that you are, we're calling it your core grid. It's the energy that emanates from the very core of that which you are. When you understand that that signal is emanating, that it's flowing into your moment right here and now, it's not off in some heavenly place waiting for you to croak and catch up with it. It's right here, out here on the leading edge. All that you are is focused out here on the leading edge with you, in your powerful now, where all that is new is happening. So as this source energy is focused with you out here on the leading edge, and you happen in that moment to be standing in a place of alignment with who you are, whoa, what a good moment you're having. That's when love is radiating through you. That's when you're clear. That's when you're dynamic. That's when you're flexible. That's when you're clear-minded. That's when your heart is singing. That's when you feel good. That's when you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on. That's when your jokes are funniest because your timing is exquisite. That's when you look the best and feel the best. That's when you are the best. That's when you're allowing all that you've become to be present right here, right now, having this conversation with whoever you're having this conversation. In other words, to be tuned to who you are and living in your powerful now. That's what you planned. And everything else is just off a tad. Now you have the ability to focus yourself out of sync with all that you are. Just get mad at someone. That'll do it in a hurry. You have the ability to focus yourself out of sync with who you are when you criticize, when you find fault, when you justify, when you defend, when you rationalize, when you explain why you want that because you don't want that. That's what gets you more than anything. And so often you say, but Abraham, you say I'm here to sift through contrast. Really? Is that why I'm here, to sift through contrast? And we say contrast is a natural byproduct of being in your world. You came to be this leading edge explorer of variety, knowing that from that focus you would come to your own personal conclusions. And when you decided to come into this body, you knew that those personal conclusions were important. So important that all that is would back you up when you come to one. So when someone's rude to you and you want them to be nicer, Source backs you up. And every time they're rude, you feel the discord. Or every time you think about them being rude, you feel the discord. Or every time you're rude back, even though they deserve it, you feel the discord. Because the source within you never goes there. The source within you always takes the bounce. Always knows that when you know what you don't want, you know what you do want. So source aligns with that. In fact, that's what the evolution of all species about, is the basis of this expanding universe, is the basis of everything that exists. Variety, which helps you to focus. We are here visiting with you because you ask us to come. You ask us to come, and our greatest value to you is we'll help you focus on what you want, but you have to do the work. As we're visiting here together today, we'll talk about who you are, and we will express from our perspective of who you really are, until you will begin to vibrate as you really are. You really will. You really are. So as you are vibrating in alliance, in allowance, in harmony with who you really are, when you have a thought that's crossways of it, you'll really know it. That's why we and many teachers encourage meditation, because when you meditate, you quiet your mind. When you quiet your